Welcome to Artflakes. My name is Mutiu Olawuyi, the host of the show. Today we're going to be dealing with the exploration of the world of IFRAH Mansour. Who is IFRAH Mansour? By the time you watch this very short clip about our presentation, you get to know more about her. And when we move to the other side of the studio, you get to know more about her from our guests. See you then.
Did you hear home call for us underneath the aching earth? Did you see her expand her mouth like a child coming out of a mother's heaven? Did we witness a single truck bombing claiming the lives of more than 300, still counting, affecting the lives of more than 600, still counting? Under a second detonation, yet over a week of searching, souls still hovering over the skies of Mogadishu, the world still watching us like $1 million action movie. Did we think about what we'll say to little brown Muhammad when he asked, Abba, did you stood still? Hoyo, did your blood not move? Abayo, did you see the head of a child, no mother present to claim? Abowe, did you see them dig only to find an unrecognizable Somali? Walalayal, is our humanity trapped in the darkening ozone?
Welcome to the other side of the studio. As I've mentioned earlier, this great Somali author, IFRAH Mansour, who is known everywhere, particularly in the United States. And we'll be going deeply into the exploration of her work, both in the area of theater, the spoken word, poetry specifically, and every other part that has to do with creativity that this woman has been displaying for years. And with me is Abubakar Ubaji, who will be exploring this part in detail. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, IFRAH is a common name in Somali context. And we see this woman when we're looking at her presentation earlier as someone who believes in culture, someone who I say as an ambassador of Somali culture. What can you say about this woman? We don't know her much.
Well, IFRAH Mansour identifies herself as a multimedia artist.
Okay.
And she's into drama presentation, poetry presentation, but art is more like an amalgam of several aspects. It's not, you can't completely call it poetry, you can't call it, she brings in songs, acting, and even visual images to present our poems. And you know, that she's a Somali, like you said, and she's quite known in the US for her performances, and her works are tied to her cultural background, where she came from, and her experiences as a refugee in the United States of America. So IFRAH Mansour was actually born in Saudi Arabia, and her parents moved back to Somalia. But unfortunately, as at the time they came back, it was not quite long after that the civil war commenced. And with that, they had to find an escape route. So during this period, she said that she experienced the violence of the war, the famine, and the long period of drought that has come to characterize the environment she grew up in. And all this was before she even attained the age of 10. So it must have been a horrible experience for her, for a child that started to go through such a terrible experience. And finally, they found their way to America. She believes that it was more like a second shot at life, and she's grateful for that opportunity. So basically, when she finished her studies to become a teacher, she was studied to become a teacher, and right now she's a bilingual teacher teaching in Minnesota. So she just got a job in the theater, and when she had that job, she saw black people bringing stories to life, so on the stage, and that attracted her to the theater. And since then, she became affiliated or with the theater production.
Let's talk about one of our prominent work, How to Have Fun in Civil War. It's a very funny title, How to Have Fun in Civil War. Civil War is not, it's not something you can even think about fun related to Civil War itself. What is this all about?
Yeah, that is more, in that work, it's a short drama piece, but which she added poetry, puppetry, and songs into that presentation. And in that presentation, she was trying to portray the experience of the Civil War from a 7-year-old refugee girl, through the eyes of a 7-year-old refugee girl. And she was showing the horror there, but it was laced with a bit of dark humor to bring in laughter, or like what you can call comic relief in drama. So you had such a thing there.
Where you have a tragic comedy or tragedy or tragedy. You always have a comic relief.
Yeah, so as to reduce the tension a bit. So because what she was talking about, what the play represented, not just to her but to millions of Somalis who are in diaspora today, because they were forced out of their home to seek refuge elsewhere. So it was a touching experience, and to avert the issue of having that people being provoked by the memories of things of old, she had to lace the presentation with a bit of humor, and it was a wonderful presentation. She's well known for that particular presentation, and even she says it's her proudest work so far.
Another thing I found out in most of her work is, as you said, she's a bilingual teacher. That reflects in most of her spoken word, her poems. You see, she will start with Wala Lomaan, lovely brother, etc.
Yes.
Why? How do you see some of this word? Why using bilingualism as a way of conveying a message?
I think more than being a teacher, I think it reflects on our roots. Being as cut off from your root can be a problem to so many people, and from time to time you find yourself wanting to reclaim that history that you thought was lost. So you want to reclaim the history that you felt was lost, and you want to show your affiliation with your people and get in touch with them. And that is what I think, using the combination of the Somali language and Somali history to capture our poetry, or even Somali cultural aspect, because this is something that she wants to be so much part of, and she's unashamedly a part of. She wants to be affiliated with that concept of that. She wants to exhibit her Somaliness to the world, and that is what makes her art even unique, because the combination of both the cultural experience of the Somali people and that of the American society that she has lived in has reflected a lot in her work, and you see an amalgam of both aspects. So basically, I believe she's even she said that there's a place I once read an interview of her where she said that her target are the young Somalis who are in diaspora, who she wants to know that their history is there for them to reconnect with, and she's offering them their history. She wants them to have a way to connect with their history in the original form of it. So, and she goes beyond just the spoken word poetry or performances which she render. She's also into art. I've seen she designs she has some beautiful design of the akal, the traditional Somali hut.
Yeah.
So everything about her has always been capturing and exploring her Somaliness and presenting it to the world. So it is the Somali in her that we see coming out, reflecting in our work.
What do you feel is unique? What makes her a little bit different from other Somali artists that we have across the globe today? What is unique about this lady?
I think first is our exploration of the language, right? The way she is able to blend the culture of the two cultures together, I think it makes her stand out. And again, she's appealing for love, unity, that is for a cease of hostility between the refugee communities and also the host community. So if they understand each other, she believes that when you have an opportunity to explore different cultures, it can only enrich your experience. It should not be looked at as something different, something alien. If you don't study people or go close to them, how can you know much about them? So that is the message that seems to pervade poetry. It's that the message is eminent in our works, and apart from that, she has this electric voice, and her performance are top notch. She has a way of delivering that makes you feel the emotional vibes of her words, right? And especially when she's rendering a touching poetry, such as the one she rendered in honor of the victims of October 14 bombing. That the message goes, even in the one we watched earlier, you see that connection between she's rendering the poem as if an ancestor is talking to the people, the younger generation of Somali, and there's that sympathy for their plight as diasporans, and also the issue of displacement, the life of a refugee, the disconnect between the refugee and the world the refugee knew before, and the world the refugee is trying to integrate his or herself into. So that is what we see that marks her as a bit different from others.
So IFRAH will see herself as one, a Somali, two, a refugee, and three, an American.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And this reflecting almost all
our works,
whether visual arts or poetry or drama. She displays that those heritage. Three key parts of her life. That's interesting. Let's look at, before we go, I want us to talk about Dear America, because that's her base. She's based in Minnesota. And what is this poem all about?
Dear America, Dear Neighbor is a poem that captures the refugee experience, right? And when you are an alien somewhere and you are not understood, there is the possibility of there being hostilities between the host community and the refugee community. And so in that poem, she's sending a message of love, hope, and the need for you to experience different cultures. The American society believed that a black Muslim or from a violence-prone area may be a danger to his own society. So, and therefore there is that that hostility that exists between the two parties. So she's saying that she came there seeking hope, love, and education, and she found it amongst the people. And she's not there to make trouble, a threat to the society. She's only there to enrich it. That if we come together and understand each other, then we can both flow in the right direction. You will know certain things about the Somali culture, and I also will know something about your culture. So there is no need to create barriers where there exist none, because already we are together in this. And if you look at the American society, it's a melting pot. You have various cultures, various people from various parts of the world in one place. And there's no way you would not interact and share ideas. So, and if I am permitted to look for the poem.
Before we go into the poem, I would want us to listen to her. Let her recite the poem. Let's watch here and see what she has in Dear America, Dear Neighbor.
Dear America, dear neighbor, I came to you with only the clothes on my back, a heart full of hope, and an open wound ready to heal, with the right home, the right education, and the right family. I found that home, that education, that family right here next to you. Your son will play at our side of the street, and you will feel at ease knowing that I too am his watchful guardian. Our daughters will ace their cultural exchange presentation because we would have shown them a real taste that is yet to be found on Wikipedia or Google. You will know why we send a small gift with each item we borrow, as is our tradition. We will hear of your Christmas caroling out through our window, as is your tradition. Your relatives visiting you at the hospitals will be perplexed by our many presents at your side, as is our tradition. We will bear witness of your kindness as we wake up to an already mown lawn on a long Ramadan day, as is your tradition. Because you know, because we know.
As you were talking before, you were trying to look at the lines of the poem. We can listen to her how she said, I came to you with only the clothes of my back. Yeah. You know, a heart full of hope and an open wound ready to heal. Yeah. So I want us to look at the language used by this author, this artist. That spoken word is so unique. The approach used, the persona in the poem is talking in a realistic manner. Not that you are just making just ordinary creative work, that you don't have the real world of it. She lives in the content of the words that she expresses. So can you discuss about the language of this poem, please?
I think there you can see, well, like you mentioned now, she said, I came to you with only the clothes on my back, a heart full of hope, and an open wound ready to heal.
Yeah.
So, and you know, there is this this thing that I found. I think this is the second poem I'm saying that basically all her poems are addressed. It's written as if it's an address to people who are listening to her.
Yeah, yeah.
What you possibly call the dramatic monologue in poetry, and you see that here. But here she's addressing the American society. And she tells them of her travels before the way she left home country in search of love, education, and hope, and she found it there. So she's giving them assurance that you will not have issues with me as far as I'm concerned. She said, your son will play at our side of the streets, and you will feel at ease knowing that I too am as watchful guardian, right? Then she said that the daughters would also go to the same schools and ace the cultural representation programs in the school. They will become the best. And, you know, and when you are at the hospital, your family will be surprised that when they come to visit you and they see us by your bedside, they'll be surprised that, what are we doing there? You know, it's the African way. That's issue, that communal existence. When one person is down, the other people are with that person too. Yeah. So she's saying that Christmas caroling. Yeah, and you also know about Ramadan too. So basically, she believes in the idea of integration and to share cultural ideas. That's the only way we can enrich each other. And these are the kind of things that you cannot find information about them on Google or Wikipedia pages.
Yeah, that's what I say.
So that is the concept there. And you know, I think basically it's based on the fact that the American community has certain misgivings or certain misconception about the black Muslim African, without knowing much about his personality or the cultural experiences that condition the person's been. So rather than keeping yourself away from the person, she's asking, let us get close to each other. We cannot avoid each other already. We're in the same place already. We're the same place, and there's no way you can keep yourself separate from me. We have to flow together.
Particularly for the sake of the children.
Yeah, for the sake of the children.
The future. Let's go into another work of this lady, where she acted like Hawatako.
Hawatako.
Yeah, Hawatako. Yeah. So what is this poem all about?
I think that was a poem we watched at the beginning of the show. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think still on it's still, you can't exclude the concept of being the life of a refugee, especially for the younger generations of Somali. Some of them who have not even visited their home country before know how the landscape looked like. You know, these are people who lived a life. You know, at the beginning of the poem, you said that our ancestors have created Gabe and Morambo, and with that, they filled it with the wisdom of ages for the younger ones to learn from. So the ancestors have set aside they laid the foundation for a good society for the younger ones to come and stay. But unfortunately, war happened and they had to escape out. So there's this appeal for a reconnection with their Somali roots, which it's not, some of them don't even recognize, and she even says that some of them cannot even pronounce their Somali names correctly. So it's unfortunate for people displaced and disintegrated around, scattered around the four corners of the world because of a war that took place. And that is, you see that there. And in that poem, the mode of presentation, she presents it like as if it's one of the strong Somali ladies who named our Taku, who rose against the colonialist, the Italian colonialists, and stood or spoke for the need for independence. You know, and I learned she was killed by the colonialists. But the fact remains that her legacy remains, and she's seen as she's seen as the image of strength and bravery amongst Somali women. So she's sending a message to the sons and daughters of Somalis scattered around the four corners of the world, and telling them that she has not forsaken them. She remembers them, that was it not because of them she took up stones, rocks, and fought against the colonialists to tell them to go, because she was preparing a way for them, because she knew that a beautiful being as they are coming to the world. But unfortunately, things did not happen as planned. But still, she says she understands their plight. Even though they speak a different language, they wear colors that she cannot identify or name. So they may be different, but the fact remains that they are still her kith and kin, and she identifies with them. And she says that she's always with them, especially in times when they need words to express themselves, when they look for words in Somali language and they cannot express themselves because there is that disconnect from the culture. So you see that what the effect of fragmentation and disintegration in society, especially when it is caused by war and people have to leave their country. There is that feeling of, you automatically you are a Somali, you are an American, and you are a refugee. So the three, you find a way to balance the three scenarios, the three ideas. But there's that point of completion. You can't really identify what you are, because you are just in between, dangling in between both. So you don't even know where your home is in this in the country, in your own original country, and there where you are, you don't belong. No matter how you try to integrate, there is that gap, there is that vacuum that cannot be filled. So our tackle in the poem persona is trying to appeal to them and showing her sympathy like a mother, and telling them that I understand your plight, I know what you are feeling, and it's unfortunate that this thing, but I still look at you as a survivor.
The locals call them fish and chips. Those who don't have the real culture, who came from outside, the diaspora, they call them fish and chips.
You see, even in the local scenario, they don't belong.
They don't belong.
They don't belong. They can't
They
belong.
don't even have.
So you see, that is
the
the concept of displacement.
Yeah.
You are just dangling in all, and it's a problem that they have to face as diasporans. So that is what the poem is about. And in the end, she tells them that no matter what happens, that my joy would be when you take the hand of another Somali in marriage. That my heart
when
beats.
you are able to pronounce your name,
when
your
you are able
Somali
to pronounce
name.
your Somali names. And my heartbeat would be when you are able to come to establish long-lasting peace in the country. In the place you once called home. That is when my joy is fulfilled. So that you may be there now, but you are only seeking ways to reconnect with your culture. So, and definitely you should strive to reconnect to it. So in the poem urges the Somalis not to abandon their cultural ways, to know that yes, they are Somali, their identity, their roots. That is what is there, and they should, in the long time, they should find a way to reconnect back to that root.
All right, thank you so much. I believe viewers have gathered a lot about this wonderful lady called IFRAH Mansour. And you've seen a lot about the life of the people outside this country, the displaced people, those who have left this country or who have left this Somali region of Horn of Africa to save their life or to also have a better life elsewhere. And but you can see why we call her the Somali ambassador. She tries every day to ensure that Somalis don't forget about their roots. She tries to use literary words of hers to call back the Somalis to remember where they come from and to connect themselves and to ensure that Somali nation is upheld forever. So see you next time when we'll meet again to discuss about the world within another soul. See you next time.